Hello YouTube and welcome back to Dare to Game. Today we're playing Solace Crafting and we're doing another tip video, and this one's going to be 8 tips for beginners. So just real basic stuff at the beginning that I've learned over the first 30-ish hours of playing the game that, you know, probably should have come earlier and would have made the game easier. So I'm just going to share those with you here. So the first one is, I mean, it should be obvious in a game like this that's based on like crafting and finding stuff and all that sort of stuff, but it's storage. There are 3 ways to increase your storage ability, and you're going to want to take advantage of all of them. Or I should actually say 4. And so the first aspect of storage to keep in mind, and one that should be pretty obvious because it's one of the first things you'll interact with in the game, is your Solace. So if you look into here, you can add basic resources or withdraw them from here, and there is a limit to that, but this is a very useful storage container because you can build Solaces all over the world. You use light to build them, but you can build them all over the place, and not only can you teleport from one Solace to another, which is very useful, but you can actually store stuff inside them and deposit and withdraw from any Solace, and it goes into the same storage. So basically, this means that if you're out gathering resources, you don't have to come back to your base to put them away. You can put them in your Solace and then, you know, sort it out later. Now, obviously, the inventory in here is limited, and you can upgrade that by upgrading the storage, but the total level needs to be high enough to upgrade the storage. So it is a process there, but keep in mind this storage is very useful and can be accessed from any Solace. So if you're out gathering resources, you don't have to run back to store it immediately. You can pop it in here. So that's the first storage tip that I want to point out. The second one, which I think should be pretty obvious, is that you're going to need storage at your base. So you can't just throw everything away and you can't use everything, and you have a very limited inventory space, so you need to put it somewhere. And the storage option here in the game are storage chests. So you can craft these right in your inventory. It'll be under woodworking and facilities, and you can do a storage chest. And so the basic storage chest, which will be a tier 0 common one, has 16 storage slots. And now obviously going up in tiers will increase storage slots, and that maxes out at tier 12 with 40, and then your rarity will also increase storage slots. The max you can have in any is 40, so the best to do is just work your way up. Like if you really want to get lots of storage, the easiest and probably least resource gathering intensive is going to be working your way up to tier 12 and then just making common ones, because that way you don't have to do all the resource stacking to get there. But a level 9 legendary chest also has 40, so it depends where you're at in the game and how much grinding you want to do. But if you want to max out these and get 40 slots per chest, which I haven't gotten to yet, you can either go up to level 12 and get your common chests, or level 9 legendary chests. But basically you can put these anywhere. I haven't found any limitations for where you can place them, and you can build lots of them because obviously lumber is a pretty common resource, and you can sort things out and store them in these chests. So that's probably the most obvious thing about storing things in this game. Then on top of that, you have inventory storage, and so your basic starter inventory is quite small. It's only going to be these 2 lines, and you can increase your lines with a backpack, and so leather backpacks are going to be what you want to increase that. And so that can be found in your crafting tab under leatherworking and tools, and so it'll cost 15 leather. And so the basic one that you can do with 15 tier 0 leather will give you 5 extra storage slots, and again, these will max out eventually. So a tier 8 common one will give you that 20 extra slots, which is the max, or a tier 5 legendary will also give you 20. So basically, you're going to want to make sure you do this. It caps out pretty high, but obviously an extra 20 storage slots is super useful. So I definitely recommend going for a backpack and getting that as quick as possible. And then the last thing regarding storage is going to be these things, which can really expand your storage space, and they're called thread bags. They're essentially a bag of holding. They go inside your inventory and they take up 1 inventory slot, but then inside of them you have a whole bunch more inventory slots. So it can get annoying doing all sorts of stuff, but obviously when you're out gathering resources, if your entire inventory is full of bags of holding, or even just half of it so you've got plenty of space to build up before transferring, you can store just exponentially more stuff. So it makes each run all that much more effective. And so that can be found in your crafting tab under tailoring and tools, and it'll be the bag. So now these are actually super useful and can get huge, much larger than your inventory, because they max out at 40 storage slots, which for a common one will be tier 18, and if you're increasing the rarity up to legendary, it'll be tier 15, but each one of those then will hold 40 slots. And so if you're doing that and you've got your full backpack all the way up, and you fill that bad boy up all the way with bags of holding at their max level to 40, that's 1,600 stacks of materials you can carry. So obviously it gets out of control real fast, and you can carry just a ridiculous amount amount of resources on you. So all of that is going to help you a lot if you keep that in mind and actually utilize these aspects of the game, because your inventory is very limited, and unless you figure out how to efficiently store things, it's going to be hard to do that. So my second tip for you here on this video is going to be to set up your home base right away near the Solace. So your home Solace here, you will spawn in the game at it, and it's going to be at 0, 0. So basically the entire game spirals out from here. The further you get from it, the more difficult everything is, and the higher the tier of the resources. So with that in mind, it's a very safe place to build your base, because very quickly, none of the mobs or animals or anything around here are going to cause you any danger. And obviously, gathering tier 0 resources will get old fast, but it never gets totally useless, because you can use them for all sorts of things, including grinding your levels. But most importantly, you can use the home teleport option to get back to your base. So basically you have a cooldown time on your hotbar for this, but you press the 0 key and it will teleport you from anywhere on the map. And I've tested it all the way out to 100 kilometers, and it, keeps going. So I'm pretty sure it's limitless. And it will bring you back to your base. Now that has a cooldown, but it's not a very long cooldown. So basically, whenever you're out gathering resources or fighting mobs or anything like that, you do have a quick return to here, and it can interrupt combat, and it can get you out of situations where you're about to die. So you never have to worry about grave running to get back to get your stuff. You set up your base next to your home Solace, and then you're going to have an easy escape back to the place where you keep all your stuff. Don't go running off and finding a perfect spot. Wherever you spawn in with your Solace, clear it out, build your home base there. I was lucky enough in this one to spawn next to a broken down tower, which I converted into my home base. So that is tip number 2. Obviously, as you get much further into the game, you can set up different bases by different Solaces and set them as your new home Solace. But when you first start the game, definitely put it right near the spot where you start. My third tip should really be a no-brainer on a hoarding and crafting game like this, but just keep everything. At some point in the game, you'll get to a point where really low tier resources are totally useless, and then you can get rid of them. But starting out, you're not going to want to get rid of stuff. The only time I would recommend getting rid of resources is if you're using them to grind your levels up or something, because there are a lot of different things in the game, and they're going to need upgrades to get them to higher levels so they can do more stuff, and a lot of times they're going to take those resources. So you're going to want to make sure you keep them on hand, otherwise you're going to be mad later on when you have to go gather a bunch after you threw a bunch away. And so basically for this, because storage is limited, you're going to want to increase their rarity, because it helps them stack into infinitely smaller stacks. And for that, you're going to need a transmogrifier. And don't worry, it sounds exotic, but it's super easy to make, and you can do it right at the beginning of the game. So under masonry and facilities in your crafting tab, you can find it in here, the transmogrifier for 50 stone. And so it's really simple to make. The tier level doesn't matter at all. All you need is your stone cutting station, which you can build fairly early in the game. It's very easy to do. It doesn't require any advanced materials. And once you've got that and you're close enough to it, you can build your transmogrifier. Once you've placed that down, you can, here I'll just show you with some stone, you can concentrate your resources into a higher rarity. And this can be used in many instances to make more advanced tools. But in this specific instance, for what we're talking about, it just helps you store things. So as you can see, a legendary stone here has 10 of the elite stones, and that's 10 of the rare stones. And a rare stone is 10 of these, and one of these is 20 of these. So you can store a ton of regular stones in one legendary stone. So it makes keeping all of your resources quite a bit easier. Basically, any amount of that one specific tier of resource, so tier 3 here, will only take up those 5 slots, because there's no way you're going to rapidly build up on your legendary stones because of how many resources that is. So you can keep everything in your storage if you build enough chests, if you're using your transmogrifier to make sure it's taking up the bare minimum only 5 slots per resource. So that's tip number 3. Don't throw anything away, just condense it down and store it. Tip number 4 is one that, again, I would think is pretty intuitive, but it did take me a while to get it into my head that it was worth the extra effort and resources to do. But it's upgrade your tools regularly. And this goes for weapons, armor, and of course your harvesting tools. Now, mind you, when I say upgrade regularly, I don't necessarily mean in rarity or in level. I mean, if you've got enough resources for it, then do it, because it makes them quite a bit better and makes gathering resources quicker and more efficient. But just keep them up to date. So all of the tools and weapons and armor in this game are based on levels. So for armor and weapons, it's pretty simple. Your level here, 37 is mine, is the level that you can wear for any armor and any weapons. None of the other things things matter. It doesn't matter what level they are. I mean, it doesn't matter what tier they are or what rarity they are. As long as they are at or below your level, you can use them. And so obviously your damage is going to go up considerably for a weapon as the levels go up and as the rarity goes up. So that's why you want to keep increasing that as you can, because it just makes you that much more effective. Same thing goes for armor. It's just going to offer that much more protection. As far as your harvesting stuff goes, these are not based on your total level. These are based on your skill level in harvesting. So the highest sickle I can use is a level 18 sickle, because that's where my reaping level is. Whereas the highest sledgehammer I can use is a level 49 sledgehammer. So if you can see, that's a little bit out of date. I've got a level 41 on there. I could make that up to 49. And that's going to be very, very important, because you need these tools to be up as high of a level as possible so you're efficiently using them. Because as you go up in the tiers of resources, it's important to match that with your tier of weapon and your level of, or tier of tool and level of tool. And so tip number 5 here is going to be for people looking to, I guess, basically grind out levels. So in this game, you level up skills by doing them, at least when we're talking about crafting skills. So if you want to level up smithing, you need to smith things. But that being said, it can be really cumbersome to sit there and craft 100 claymores. And so basically what I'm saying here is take advantage of the practice option, because it uses the resource and gives you the XP, but it doesn't put a bunch of swords into your inventory. And since currently I haven't found a great way to monetize any extra stuff in this game for any sort of a meaningful purpose, I just like to use the practice option, because even taking all of the claymores up and scrapping them with your recycling table, it's just not worth it. It takes so much more time because of the way that the game is designed, that it's way more efficient just to use that practice option. And to that, you just click this and press practice when you've selected however many of a thing you want to craft. So my next one is going to be obvious. It's just how you get food, because you're going to need both food and water to survive in this game. And farming is an option, but I've basically gotten through the game so far without ever doing that. If I was going to get more into alchemy, then I would definitely be more interested in farming, because quite a few of the resources can be farmed. But basically, it's pretty easy to get all of your real common resources for survival, because those are going to be food and water. And so it's pretty easy to get water through two methods. You can either go and cut down stalks, which you're going to need for tailoring anyway, because they're the resource you use for that, and you get globes of water when you do it. And then outside of that, in any wasteland or desert biome, you can find cactuses all over the place. Just cut these down, you're going to get timber from them, which is useful, and also globes of water. So this is a great way to get lots and lots of water. Then outside of that, all you need is meat. So you just go around, kill animals, skin them, you get raw meat, and you cook that at a campfire, which all you need to make that is stones. So tip number 7 is actually a little bit more complex, because it takes a couple more steps to it, but basically it's going to be to utilize the fonts in this game. And so you can see them here in your facilities when you're in crafting. So the fire font, for example, takes 1 essence of fire and 10 timber. A tannin font requires 1 essence of wood and 10 tannin. And a water font requires 1 essence of water and 10 globes. So we can just go ahead and craft one of those. And then these can be used as resources in your various processing facilities. So for example, your redding vat, where you can turn your stalks into thread. I'll just take all these globes of water out just so I can show you. You can put that water font in there, and then any of that tier or lower, you'll be able to process infinitely, so you're never going to run out of water that way. The fire font can be used in the forge and possibly also the campfire. Let me test that quick, because I actually haven't ever tested that. Okay, yes, also the campfire. So the fire font is obviously going to be an extremely useful item, because you can use it in both, and it is something that you will use pretty frequently. And then, of course, the tannin font can be used in your tanning rack, so you don't have to supply tannin in there. Any leather that's tier 5 or lower, because I have a tier 5 one, I can turn, or any hides I can turn into leather. Then tip number 8 is one that requires more steps, but is definitely worth it in the end, and it's to craft each of these resource scanners and to use them. And so for these scanners, you can find them in the masonry facilities section, and there's going to be one for each type of huntable resource. So you've got beast, metal, plant, stone, and wood. And the resources to craft these is going to be 100 of your common stone for whatever tier you're doing it from. So you're just going to have to gather stone, and then 1 essence of each of the type of things. So an essence of wood, stone, plant, iron, beast. And these can also be upgraded to give you more usage and range and stuff. But basically, once you've got these, you can find these more uncommon nodes, or the blue ones will be rare. Okay, there's a pink one there, that's elite. I haven't found a legendary one yet. But basically, hunting these down, so let's say you decide, I need to go get just a whole bunch of tier 1 stone, okay? So then you're just going to want to switch her over to stone, and in any region you're in, so right here where I am, this will be all tier 0, but over here it's going to be getting into the tier 1, tier 2 range. You just go to these and hunt them down, and you're going to get uncommon resources instead, which is exponentially more. So 25 uncommon stone should be 500 regular stone. So it's way faster to harvest resources if you go around collecting from the uncommon, rare, elite, and legendary nodes instead of just the basic one. Obviously, that's not always an option, but it is great to have it, and it can really speed things up for you. So that is my 8th and final tip. Use those resource scanners, and if you decide you have to go on an iron run or whatever, then use them instead of just going for the basic rocks, because yes, there's a lot more walking involved just going to these ones, and you can obviously collect the regular ones on the way, but an inventory full of uncommon ore is going to be 20 times an inventory of regular ore, so it's way faster in the end. So that is all 8 of my tips. So like I said, there's lots and lots of tips for this game, and I'll probably make a future video if I can think of 8 more good ones or something like that. But I think these ones are very basic, early, beginning ones that will make the game more enjoyable and a lot easier for the average player. So with all that in mind, thanks a ton for watching, and have a nice day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you like this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.